This morning before today's show, I was able to get Mike Schmitz for about 20 minutes to kind of dive into Young Hansen. And I'm going to write about it tonight after I dive into a bunch of film and just come up with my first evaluation on him. But Mike is obviously a guy that Joe Cronin brought in after a decade of scouting experience with Draft Express under Jonathan Gavoni to be the guy that goes out and
he's the assistant GM.
Yes,
by title.
He is a guy that has cut his teeth in the international scouting circuit. And for all people who are like, let Joe and Mike cook, this is what you got. Good, bad, or otherwise, whatever you think of it. Like when people say you want to see bold moves and see them make a direction or go after the guys that they want to go after, that's exactly what they've done. And one of the first questions I asked is, what gives you guys the conviction to make what Joe called an unconventional pick? And he said, paraphrasing here, it's about trusting the process and all of the data that we have on him. And I've mentioned this before. Every NBA team has their own in-house analytics and modeling and everything that kind of goes along with that. And they have certain indicators for every league around the world, whether it's an Adriatic League or Euro League, U18s, U19s. There's all scaling. And they said our projections really, really, really liked him. And he gave credit to Sergey Oliva, another assistant general manager, who was on the trip with Mike, to China in 2023. He said those guys, they watched over 100 games of his footage and dove into everything about him. And again, they've been tracking him for 2 years, but it was about trusting their eyes, trusting their analytics, trusting their methodology, and going, we don't care what anybody else thinks. We can't, because if we start caring about what someone else thinks of what prospect that we like or that we don't like, then we're not trusting the things that we're trying to do and what we're trying to build on. And that was the crux of what drove this process for them was, and this is what you said, either you're going to trust them or they're getting too high on their own supply.
And look, when you put it on the table, one of those two things is going to happen here. And this is it to a T, that they are in a situation where they are going full throat conviction in this pick, acknowledging, yeah, it's a reach, but it's still our pick. And it's the one that it's a guy we wanted. It's the spot that we felt the most comfortable trading back to get him. And this comes with, you're putting your head on the chopping block as it pertains to your relationship with this fan base. Because there has been a lot of trust that these guys will make the right pick. And to go back-to-back years of drafting a center, I like competition. I think competition in position groups, if you do not have that guy there, bring in as much competition as you can and see who's going to thrive in it.
Unless you got the All-NBA guy there who is him.
Yeah. I mean, right now, there's not a single player on the Blazers roster that should feel alienated if competition comes in. And that includes Tumani Kamara, because for everything that he can do defensively, offensively, he has his limitations. Denny Avdia, same thing. You are a very nice player, but if they get a 1 on this team, sorry, you got to take a back seat to that guy.
Yeah,
right?
Let's say the Blazers won the lottery and Cooper Flagg's there. You shouldn't feel threatened. You should show up and go, that's a guy that can help us, but I need to amp.
And so I trust Mike Schmitz, Joe Cronin, and the fact that they have cut their teeth and they spent so much damn time on this one player. But the draft history right now, it hasn't been electric. If that's what they're hanging their hat on, I mean, you go through them, right?
You've got Scoot, you've got Shaden, you've got Chris, you've got Donovan,
Repair,
and now Yang Hansen. Now you could squeeze Tumani in there if you want to, because they got him in the transaction after the draft.
Before he ever played a game, they liked him, but at the same time, he was part of a trade, and they had an opportunity to draft him and did not.
Yeah,
right. But their big acquisitions have been guys who they didn't draft. Denny,
Mhm.
That is a good acquisition.
Yes.
Tumani Kamara, that is a very good
Mhm.
acquisition. And then guys that have either been part of this roster previously, which they also played a role in, Joe especially.
Joe was Ant's scout.
Yeah, Joe has been here for a very long time.
17 years.
But they traded for DeAndre Ayton. They traded for Robert Williams. Like, though this is where they cut their
Mhm.
teeth, they still have not gotten these home runs, especially because we were talking about, are you going to draft competition for Scoot? Well, they drafted competition for the guy they took last year
Mhm.
because they still are like, I don't know. We don't know if he has it. And that's not a terrible thing for a guy who is the first person, or he's your 7th overall draft pick, and he's played 1 year in the NBA.
Mhm.
Yeah, he probably still should have some stuff to prove,
Yeah.
right? But there's still meat left on the bone to, all right, well, if you're drafting competition, that means you don't have full-throated trust in the guy that's there.
And you're seeing an opportunity for your roster to get better. So one of the other things that I asked, and just watching some limited tape that I did after the press conference last night, was, and this is from Sam Vecini of the Athletic. This was his write up after the draft. Even though skill absolutely matters with players like this, and it is what makes them special, the guys who tend to make it in this mold are generally the biggest bullies on the court. Think Nikola Jokic, Domantas Sabonis, Nick Vucevic, and even Karl Anthony Towns to some extent. They can all put their shoulder on NBA big men and move them backward to establish position wherever they need to on the court. Young doesn't have that ability, unfortunately. And so that was something, you and I have talked about this a lot over the last couple of years. Like when I'm doing evals on guys, particularly bigs, and I see somebody who's high waisted, their center of gravity getting a little bit higher, I reached out to a draft expert who works in biomechanics, and it was one of the first things he brought up. He goes, his ability to bend, and this is a problem that Chet Holmgren has. Even though as fluid as he is, his ability to bend at his hips because he's so high waisted, it's hard for him to get down.
Yeah, I say this a lot. Like, Chet gets to all of his spots, but it never looks graceful.
Like, compare it to Evan Mobley, who just slithers, or even Wemby, who's even bigger, who just slithers. Because even though he is 7'5", it's proportional. Yeah, his legs are long, but it matches where, like, the ratio of upper to lower body. And he didn't. The guy I was talking to didn't say it was like drastic, but he's like, okay, that may be a bit of a biomechanical limiting factor. But the physicality. When I asked Schmitz about this, he did push back. He said, I actually think it's one of his strongest suits. His willingness to seek out contact. Okay. And over your shoulder, I've been playing all of the combine scrimmages that Yang was in at the NBA Combine. And I've been just kind of in
the noises and looks on your face that you're giving are making me feel a little uncomfortable while I'm sitting over here. Well, you love these highlights.
Well, it's not the things that I'm watching with him. I'm watching for the physicality. That's the thing that I'm like, I want to know, because I'm watching him set screens. And one of the things that Mike was like, his ability to initiate contact, because you can watch screeners in the NBA. You can get better at screening, but like if you watch Steven Adams screen, he's looking to take your soul 42 times a game.
Yeah.
And there's no...
He is an anomaly in that.
Nurk.
Yeah.
Nurk is one of the best screeners in the NBA. Like, Dame has told me this so many, like the angles and how he just has this feel, and because he's so big. And look, Nurk is a big butt boy. Like, he's gonna knock you sideways when he hits you with a screen. And I've watched Yang here quite a bit set very forceful screens, and that's how you get on the floor as a big. Like, Donovan's learning how to. He doesn't avoid physicality, but you can see him still trying to navigate screen angles and understanding NBA spacing and things of that nature. Young seems to have some pretty natural feel in that, just kind of watching him and just where he does it, and that feeds into his playmaking, working in DHOs and get actions and getting off the ball and catching it in short space after creating that space. So if you're looking for like some positive indicators of like the things that they like,
DHOs,
dribble handoffs. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, it happens. But like,
I appreciate you trying to be concise.
Yes. But I've got a lot more in here, which I will dive into in the article. But there were some. Mike answered a lot of questions. I still have more because I want to dive more in him, because he's a relative unknown.
There's a lot of questions about him.
If you go search YouTube and you try to, all you're going to find is highlights. You're not going to see him miss. And because the CBA, the Chinese Basketball Association, you can't watch games because they're blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't allow the VPNs or anything else in. It is a firm firewall. You can't get those games. So I have to go to some other sources that I've got access to try to pull full game footage, and hopefully that'll be enough to kind of dive into.
There
But
you go.
once I do that tonight, I'll release the article along with the deep dive on the film
I like
that
it.
I can process and get through.